Good morning, everyone. And it says you are live, so here we are. I was having technical difficulties for a change. Spent 15 minutes trying to get the mic to work. And before that, my new streamlined process is now resulting in me taking like an extra hour to get my note out. So apparently I have to streamline the streamline. Anyway, that said, that's what Thanksgiving weekends are for. Okay, so quick recap. Yesterday, we were up, whatever it was, about 0.9%-ish. We had some numbers that the market decided like PPI, CPI, whichever and 67.55 ended up being like this battle zone. And then once we got here we are. Right. Once we got over 67.55, we had a positive gamma strike up there near 67.75 that we kind of stalled, got sucked up to, and then kind of pulled back down. And we might have a similar setup today. Today is interesting, and we'll get to that in a minute. Good morning, Danny. Let's see. Okay, so yesterday was one of those days where we had RSP, the equal weight, outperform the S&P 500 and the IWM. I think outperformed the S&P 500. Volatility kind of collapsed, which I've been mentioning the last few days. I've been showing like the VIX the parts of the VIX from the VIX distribution charts, and they couldn't get enough skew a week ago out of the money stuff, and now they don't want it at all. A lot of this is mechanical. We overtook both the 67 10-ish area, we overtook the 50-day moving average yesterday and the 20-day moving average. So now this all the short-term selling that they did when the line broke, now they buy when the line is breaking again. So rather than buy low and sell high, they do the opposite. They sell low and buy high, whatever. That's that's what you pay the big money for to get these hedge funds. So okay. So as we know, it's Thanksgiving weekend, holiday shortened week, tends to be bullish, and it has been, even though all the bear porn was that this year is going to be different. Guess what? It's not. And I'll be doing an article this weekend about a little more in depth about the mechanics of some seasonality stuff. And a friend of mine sent me an interesting research article about that. Okay, Doc, very interesting. So where are we now? How am I going to make money today? All right, glad you asked. I'll tell you. So let me show you this. I said I had too much time on my hand. Well, actually, I was wasting too much time messing around with this stuff. So I see Whale is back, as many of you know. He has a trading service which he charges around $3,000 to $5,000 a month for. Of course, I can tell you what his trades are for only $59.95 a month, or $49.95 Black Friday special, but that's another story. So he's back, and his trades aren't rocket science; they're really kind of simple. So he's back selling. He sold 67.95, 6,800, 5 wide, call spread, and wherever it is, Short strike is here at 25.20, got about $1.70. Usually goes for a little bit more than a third the width of the spread. Simple, tasty trade mechanics, selling the 20-ish delta. That's it. That's it. Give me $5,000 a year, please. And if he loses, he does doubles up his size until he wins or goes broke. Hasn't gone broke yet. But yet. Okay, so we have that up on top over here near 67, 20, 25, all the way up to 40. Massive positive Gex wall. That's the 100 wide gang that I sometimes talk about in my server. A systematic fund that sells 100 wide ish. I just call them 100 wide because it sounds cool. 100 wide ish iron condors, way out of the money, but sometimes the way out of the money gets in the money. Remember, this was way out of the money yesterday, 68, 25, and 40, when they sold it at the open 100 plus points ago. And so that's a massive stall. But, and we'll look at it, if then, conditional, if the IC wheel gets skewered and it's later in the day, then just like happened yesterday, then we could have a tendency to drift up toward this area, the over 6,800, 10, 15, 20, or get pulled back down in this zone. If then conditional, that's not a prediction at all. It's a possible path. Another very possible probable path is getting pinned somewhere near here. Maybe he gets skewered, maybe he doesn't. Maybe we just pin to the round number. I'm calling this area the IC equilibrium. So somewhere between this short strike and this short strike, there's an equilibrium point. And that's going to be math. Right now, the equilibrium looks like it's going to be further. Remember, we closed here 65. So we're going to have an equilibrium center point somewhere near here. Okay. Let's look at where this all came from. So massive positive gamma. Customers sold calls up here at 25 and higher. So where are we at now? 85.90. Let me see where we are. We're at 90. Let's call it 90. So we're here. Okay, so my eye is immediately drawn to this fly-like structure, 95, 85, 75. That might be an interesting butterfly to buy if we don't get through that. Maybe a put fly here. That might be interesting. Another interesting fly might be a 95. Or a fly up here, but we'll look at the flies later. So we have this area that we're going to kind of float around in. Below 67, 65, 75, 70. And remember, we have the JP Morgan collar short call, JP Morgan customer long over here at 67.55. So if we add that gamut into the equation, this bar will be bigger. So we can kind of see that over here. All strikes. But this doesn't, hold on, let's all right, this isn't going to show until after the open. I feel like playing around with all this stuff right now. We'll look at it. Let's just do this. Indulge me for a second, guys. If we add Friday into the mix. And we change it to gamma, not position number. Suddenly we see the 67.55 is more prominent. Good morning, everyone. Is more prominent. So these are the zones for today if we take Friday into account. This isn't as intensive as it looked, but look what is intensive. 6,800 magnets. They've been buying these, they were buying these 150 points ago, 200 points ago. And so we have this kind of, here's where the main magnets are. 6750, 6800. Now let's remember this 6750, I pointed it out yesterday and I think even Monday. This appeared on the chart, customer board 6750 calls. It might have been 6750, 6755, and we were down here taking advantage of the JP Morgan short collar here, buying a cheap 5 wide. It was about $1.50, $1.60, saying we're going to the collar and I'm going to get 350, for my 150, make 2 to risk 1 kind of trade. I did one for fun. And so this guy doesn't care that we go to the moon. Whoever's long the 6750s, these are long. But if we should fall into this area, here's kind of the main area, 6800, 6750, with positive gamma in between. We're suddenly in a supportive environment for the first time in quite a while. Let's get off of that, back to position number. Let's get back to 0 DTE. That's where we are. So roadmap. If we open, let's just say over 67.75, then we're looking for a reaction here at 85, stall at the IC whale, positive gamma, and see if we chop. We would expect to chop in this zone, 75 to 95. If we can get over here and people start buying the 6,800, then we have a whole nother 95 to 25 area where we could spend a lot of the day. Conversely, should profit taking, whatever, news, I don't care what, decide that, you know what, we kind of break this and get negative on the day, then we're in this area. But remember, we have JP Morgan at 6750, and that probably would be the max downside. The expected move, when I looked yesterday, was 40-ish there at night when we were low, and now it's 29. 20 was 29 when I looked before, so that puts us up here on top, expected move on top. And that puts us right around where we opened, 6750-ish, rather on the bottom. So we have a relatively narrow expected move. Expiration today. Okay. It's a small expiration. Now it was a bigger expiration compared to the usual weekly. That is a good question because we had some unusual monkey business in the VIX weekly that we typically don't have. So let's take a look real quick at what's going on there. I didn't evaluate it, so let's take a quick look. Specific. Thank you. Now I switched it to customer side, it's just easier for me to think of intuitively, like what are people okay. Okay. So we have all these long calls that we're below that's kind of gonna decay out. So market makers could buy a little bit. It's 8,000, so it's really not a lot. There was a bunch there before. Let's see what's going on the put side. Customers are long puts. And so if we kind of aggregate it, let's just get rid of that and look at it like this. So all this goes away. All this goes. I don't think there's going to be a big VIX reaction from the 8,000 contracts. Nothing. Nope. Good question though. If this were a monthly, obviously it would be a whole nother story. There's customer side. So for those of you that don't that aren't used to thinking in gamma, here's what customers, you, me, hedge funds, how they're positioned. They're short, they sold all these calls up here. We have the long side of the iron condor. He stole this, he bought that. We have people bought the 75, the 85 and 75 yesterday, well, soon. And we have this mild selling of options in here between 80 and 75. Oh, these are, yeah, right. Selling with a couple of longs over here near where we closed. And we have the IC whale sold this on the bottom. Flip that to market makers, and market makers are on the other side of that. So 67.50, notice there's, let's look at the customer side for a second so you can see it a little more clearly. So customers, somebody bought, and it looks like it's a somebody, bought the 67.50 straddle, or what probably wasn't a straddle, might have been a straddle at the time that they bought it. I don't know if they paid for it, but the long call is up. So this nets out position-wise that, the calls and the puts net out delta-wise. Well, they don't net out delta-wise because these deltas the calls are higher delta and this is lower delta. And so when we go like that and we change it from position number to gamma, am I losing you guys? Look at 1DT for Friday, good idea. I don't know where, okay, what am I looking at here? Okay, so now it's market maker. I changed it to gamma because the puts and calls aren't equal delta equal gamma. And we have the 67.50 has a lot of gamma, but wait, am I on the right? Oh, I have it on all, that was the problem. Okay. So it nets out. Okay, let's get back to position number. And we're stalling. Let's see who's here. I wonder how many people are actually watching this on Friday before Thanksgiving. Well, not the Friday, rather the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. Most people are like, God. Let's take a look at Friday while we're in the neighborhood. 28, that's it. Okay, I got my hardcore people here. My hardcore people. Okay, that's my tribe. Okay, so notice this says, yeah, on YouTube and on X. Anybody on X, how many are watching? 170. There you go. There you go. I'm kind of more active on X. I don't really know how to use the YouTube. I tell you, I never even look at it. I know there's all kinds of metrics and fancy crap you could do. Okay, so here's just want to show you something. So here's ICs that I sold yesterday, have knowing that the whale was going to come up. What does it say? That doesn't make sense. I didn't buy this. Something is wrong with what this is showing. Oh, hold on, SPX. Okay, here's what I sold. Okay, this is buy to close. I sold 66.90 down there and 68.20 up there, right where those 60, right where. Well, except now it's not working. Well, you know what I'm talking about. You guys have been paying close attention. I sold the calls up here and the puts below here. So while I might be down a few pennies on the calls, I also sold a closer one, a 5 wide, kind of the way the IC whale does, but I move further away than he does. I also added a call debit spread to turn it into a 1x3x2 fly. So this could actually pay if we break above 6,800, come up over 6,805. This will be a big winner. So I thought this had a small thing, and I could always get sell the call debit spread during the day or whatever. So that's what I talk to people sometime about, turning spreads into flies. That's one example of what you might do. I'm not worried about this crap up here, 68.20. Certainly not worried about the puts. And here's what did I do here? 67.40. Here's a fly that was nice and profitable at one point, like yesterday, but then we overran the collar. It's a 15 by, it's an equal fly. Or we'll think about what we're going to do about that. Okay, so let's talk about what we would do for Friday. Right, so let's take a quick look at Friday. If I can get the options F to load. Let's look at Friday. Okay, down and dirty, Friday. We got positive gamma up here, 68.35, below 6,700. All right, so what we're trying to do for those of you watching at home is find some places where market makers a long gamma of customers are short to sell around for Friday. Anywhere down here, below 6,700, 6,690, or below the 6,670, if there's any juice down there. So let's see. Let's try first a conservative. Gonna have to go something like I know some people like if you're just looking to steal a few pennies, there's nothing wrong with stealing a few pennies. Something like that for 50 cents, selling 68, 70, 75, and 66, 90, 85. I'll put one in for science. If you wanted a kind of a different risk reward profile, a little less than a third the width of the spread, because a third the width of the spread sometimes gets you into a little more dangerous territory. Let's just say we're going to say 6,700. And we expect to go up. I'm going to give JP Morgan 67.50 the edge here and go a little higher on the puts. Something like that would be okay. Maybe above 68.50, just in case people get crazy. We have 50-point expected move. So you might want to go a little bit higher than 45. Might want to just give the devil his due and go 55 on top. Something like that. Give the devil his due over here. So below 6,700 and above 68.50 for a 5 wide, if you don't mind 5 wide and getting 75 bucks, 50 bucks, 100 bucks, something like that. And then toward the end of the day, I'll put, now remember, it's a short day on Friday. So whatever, the vol tends to adjust crazy over these days. So what we put in, if we put this in now, a lot of this might evaporate and be gone by the end of the day. You put in a 50% buy to close or something. I might actually do something like that for science in my bigger account. If we put something in at around 2 o'clock, 1 o'clock, just like you see on a Friday on the weekend, IV drops over the weekend. IV is going to drop for Friday because of the time factor. Friday is a short day. Plus we have decay. Thursday is off. So whatever IV is in this chain is going to get sucked out. Okay, that's it. So it's 9 o'clock. If there's no other questions or comments from the 28 people on YouTube, share the YouTube stuff past, I don't know, maybe I have a friend that is a YouTube guru that's been telling me all the stuff to do on YouTube to make it useful. But I never spent any time, so we'll figure it out. You can edit stuff. You can actually do some pretty cool stuff. I will be doing something with Master Bailey from Vici Trading. He's on Substack. I think Master Bailey is his Twitter handle. Today at 5, he does a regular thing every day at 5. We've been trying to get together and do something, and we'll be doing that. And me and Option Seller from Substack will be doing something Saturday at 1 o'clock. May not be that well attended. That's okay. Where we ask people to field questions and we'll just kind of answer them. So I'm trying to bring more, just do more stuff. I like talking. I like teaching, so it'll kind of be fun. All right, 227. There you go, Rick. That's my man. What's the count on YouTube before I hang up, before I sign off? Did I gain audience share and lose audience share? That's my Nielsen ratings. Okay, whatever. And there you can, here I am. You see, that's me in real life. That's like you see in the pictures. That's me. That's me in the corner. That's me in the spotlight. Okay, everybody. 30. Okay, top of the range today. Good question. Top of the range. First, let's do it a simplistic way. Slash yes. 25-point range. So 25-point straddle. We're at 80. Let's pretend we're at 85. 85 plus 25 is 68.10. We have heavy gamma resistance at 68.20, 25 beginning, but we could also mean revert up there. So over 6,800, 6,800 is still very much in range. Still very much in range. Bottom of the range today. Okay, let's take that same 25 and take it off of here. Let's just pretend we're at 75 this time to give us a little extra cushion. And that takes us down to 50, 55 Tuesday's close, the JP Morgan collar. Say 67.50 should be the bottom of the range, probably shouldn't get there. Thank you. So anyway, Wall Street to open higher is December. Oh yeah, of course. Of course, we have the macro narrative of rate cuts and GDP, inflation, whatever. We also have the other narrative of now Google is the new Nvidia and all that, that whole nonsense. And I read somewhere that, wait, maybe Broadcom, AVGO is going to be able to do whatever with those fancy chips. So whatever, there's all kinds of narratives going on. Of course, I'm looking at my over there at one of my dashboards, and of course, Google is down and Nvidia is up. That's another duh. I think Amazon is a good play right here, right near the 200-day. Let's take a quick look at Amazon. I mean, I also trade stocks, so talk about it a lot. Let's just take a look at a daily for a minute on Amazon. See that? Clear pattern. Let's look at a daily on Amazon. We got a 200. Where's the 200? Whoops, that's not the 200. Let's get all right. There's the 200 right there. So we bounced off the 200. Okay, does Amazon break the 200 often? Hell no. Other than like in April when everything broke everything. So we touched the 200. We have, I guess this is the 50 up here. And I usually keep a 50 or 20. Oh, okay, that's a 20 up there. So looks like we went through we bounced off the 200. Now we're at the 50. Get to over the 20. This gap between the 50 and 20 is kind of large. Usually they're kind of more parallel. When it squeezes like this, we go through it. I expect to get up at least to the 2035, which could happen in a day the way Amazon moves. And we have an all-time high all the way up there. How many people in the room, raise your hand, think that Amazon has hit its all-time high forever and is never going to break that all-time high? How many people think that's going to happen? I'm going to say that Amazon will hit another all-time high in the history of the planet Earth, probably sooner rather than later. You think of how you want to position for it. Black Friday, Christmas shopping, January, might be interesting, trade out of the money, convexity trade, or do something more near the money, at the money. I'm not going to spend the time structuring an Amazon trade yet, but now I do some other stock kind of trades a little bit in the room, and we have people that do that. Now that I'm going from 2 tiers to 1 tier, subscribe. We have the Christmas special. It comes out to $49.95 a month for a yearly subscription, or same $59.95 for a monthly. And you get Dan's earnings trades, you get the E-mini scalping room, you get all kinds of good stuff. How would I trade Amazon? I would probably do something relatively simple. So let's take a look. You see, you got me on my weak spot. I like to play. I like to make trade. I like to construct trades. Construct trades. How would I trade Amazon? Okay. Let's start with something simple. The Amazon go high, right? So that's kind of. Let's start with something simple. Although obviously we don't want to short the stock. You know me, I'm gonna like to play with a butterfly. Hold on. And I don't want a symmetrical butterfly in case we go through all-time highs. So something like this, 240, 255, 265, fly. And actually, if that didn't happen, I'll probably put a trade in because I can't help myself. I do just a debit spread. You can buy like at the money, or like one strike out of the money, 235, 250-ish, or something like that. I think it's a relatively easy trade. Sell a put to finance it, sell a put spread to buy a call spread, something like that. And that's it. Okay, now I'm going to go. Flyer debit. Yeah, flyer, exactly. Both of them are kind of easy. Both of them are kind of easy. You don't have to overthink it. if you buy far enough out, you could probably just even buy a naked option. I guess buy like a wide debit spread if you don't mind putting up the capital just to have a little theta help. Okay, I'm going. See, I got the camera working. All right, take care, everybody.